Welcome to Season 3 of the Knack for Business podcast. Over 300 episodes strong, we're here to ignite your entrepreneurial spirit with fresh insights, networking gems, and creative strategies that elevate your game. Are you ready to discover what your Knack for Business truly is? Your hosts are Bernie Fransgrote from Creative Insight and Wayne Pratt from Motive 8U Inc.
Today's topic is leverage AI to scale beyond limits. Question from the audience: how can you use AI and automation to scale your business without increasing costs or complexity? Jennifer Brown-Flewelling from Go JEL Lifestyle Co. is here to talk about it. Jennifer is a seasoned business strategist, SaaS agency owner, and automation coach dedicated to helping businesses scale through technology. With over 25 years of expertise in marketing, sales, and HR, she specializes in automating customer experiences, increasing conversions, and building profitable, scalable companies. As the founder of Go JEL, she empowers entrepreneurs to harness AI-driven automation, data tracking, and mastermind communities to streamline operations and drive revenue growth. She also leads mastermind groups and Discover Day events, where business owners refine their marketing and sales strategies for seven-figure success. Beyond business, Jennifer gives back by supporting initiatives to feed the homeless and advocating for Parents Empower Parents, or PEP. Jennifer, welcome. What's your favorite quote or saying?
What gets scheduled, gets planned, gets done.
You built an entire business that wraps around the entrepreneur and automation and scaling. What brought that to the forefront for you? It's not today I'll be a dentist. This is more specific and that brings it down to a special pack. What brought you here?
It started 30 years ago. My background is in human resources. That's what I went to post-secondary school for. When we sat in that classroom 30 years ago, they talked about how there would become a time where we would have to rely on things like technology, automation. We didn't even think about AI back then. That we would have to help to balance out the scales of the workforce. We knew that the baby boomers would be retiring and that we would not have enough people to replace them. Throughout my entire career, no matter what industry we were at, I was always up for looking at ways that we could use technology to help people, to give them that hand up in business.
Jennifer, what's the biggest misconceptions about AI for the business owner?
I think that the biggest misconception for the business owner is how easy it is. I think the misconception for people is that it's meant to replace people. The way that businesses are operating, where their people are needing that hand up and needing that support and may not be able to get it, whether it be because they're not able to find people, or maybe they just don't have the payroll capacity to hire more people.
So people look at AI as a complicated thing, and I think it's a lack of knowledge or lack of working with a tool. How do you break it down for them so that they know how to capitalize on it?
So a lot of times we're building out bots, and these bots are put in to help people in their businesses. It's not necessarily combing everything on the big old internet. It's going and you're training that to be able to assist you in your business. If you have customers calling in and they're asking the same repetitive questions and you don't have the capability to have somebody answering your phones 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, we're able to train a bot to learn from your website and then be able to service your clients in a way that you want to be represented.
So if you're starting out and you're looking like, okay, I'm going to get this bot in here, what areas, where would you want them to start? Let's say they're starting out as evergreen. They're a solopreneur, they're ramping up, whether they're providing a home service or a SaaS service. Where should they start off? What are the first steps?
The best place for people to start off is on having a bot be able to assist you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week with your phones. We know that 62% of businesses are not able to answer their phones. So those are missed opportunities. We live in a society where people are very impatient. If they're not getting the answers or at least somebody answering the phone, they quickly move on to your competitor. So by having your ability to be able to answer the phone, by having a bot that can at least streamline them to maybe a live agent it allows for you to not miss those opportunities. If you have an average transaction of $2,500 in your business and you're missing even 2 of your calls per month and you close at a 75, that's thousands of dollars a month and a year that your business could be missing out on. Most businesses spend a ton of money on marketing, and for that marketing to go to an answering machine or not even be answered is the biggest opportunity in most small businesses.
I find two answers. One, some businesses suffer shiny object syndrome, and they're always buying something for $20 and they don't even know what it does, but it's shiny. How much budget should they put aside to legitimately look at AI solutions?
For the bot solution, we're looking at anywhere between $300 to $500 a month. So it just depends, right? There's lots of different tools out there. The one that we're seeing the biggest impact in is answering the phones or having a chat widget. We know that chat widgets are going to become the go-to for consumers. Maybe not our age group, but millennials and under. They're saying that in another 5 years, we could see apps maybe being the secondary way that we purchase things, and that people will be going to sites, having that little bubble, that chat widget pop up, and being able to not only do the purchase, but the entire transaction right through those bots on your websites.
It almost sounds like there's no human intervention in that whole process, other than the user going, "I want the puppy in the window." Will the bots also monitor the quality of the transaction, as in they found what they wanted, they had questions? Is there any kind of feedback loop that the AI encapsulated in that whole process?
Yeah, so the idea behind the AI is it just can't be a set it and forget it. In an ideal world, that's where it may go. But truly, we're selling to humans, so we need to keep that human capability. The best is to have both, having the technology, but also having the person there. Because if we're not having that interaction with the person and them seeing what the bot's doing, everything goes into the software. So as a business owner or as a support to the bot, you're able to go in and see, is it answering the client's questions in a timely fashion? Are these turning into appointments? Are they a transaction? We don't just say, "Oh, the bot's got it." We have it going in and having somebody manage over it. For me, I'm a firm believer that we need to have work-life balance. We've gone to a society where everyone wants availability now. By having technology assist companies, we're able to give that work-life balance. When Betty leaves the office at 5 o'clock, she doesn't have to worry about the phones being answered until 9 a.m. because there's something in place capturing that that person raised their hand and said, "I want to do business with your business."
How do you make sure that you put you in the automation? How do you make it personal so that it's not just a telephone tree?
Yeah, so it's all customized. Everything is customized. There's actually now 60 voices that you can choose from, different personalities, male, female, accents. It is unbelievable where that has gone. But you train that bot to be able to say, if they want this, they can do this. If you think about training an employee, it's the same process. The benefit of using AI, you don't have to worry about if that person is sick or if they have an emergency that comes up. We're able to allow our employees to turn off. I spoke with a gentleman that was a solar entrepreneur, owned a plumbing business. That gentleman had not slept through the night in years. I think, wow, how can you have a business where you're always on? As a person who's owned businesses for over 20 years, I remember those days of waiting for the phone to ring and answering it as fast as I could. Great customer experience, potentially, but what you usually are seeing is burnout. And then when we have burnout, we don't have that great customer experience.
I can actually relate, coming from a healthcare space and watching some of this particular medical practitioner. It reached a saturation point, and she got up on the desk and said, "One more person approaches the desk, they're out. You've hit your limit. Time to take a coffee." So what are the biggest mistakes then that people encounter when they implement? Is it haphazard, wrong applications? Is it putting something that should be hot, spicy, but it's on something sweet? And
I think the biggest thing is that they don't make sure that it's a reflection of what they want their company to represent. It doesn't align with them at all. And then that becomes confusing for the customer. If you have a bot that's got an experience like this, and then your employee's experience is very different, then your customer becomes confused and they don't know who they're working with. I think the biggest thing with the AI and automation is that the people that are younger, those millennials that are really and truly in most businesses, they're the largest group buying from us. That is where they are comfortable. When we talk about calling a business and booking an appointment, that works really well for our Generation X's and our baby boomers. But our millennials, there's stats out there now that are saying that they actually have social anxiety calling and speaking with people. To give them the option to go onto a chat widget or scan a QR code and help themselves and book their services as they need them, it's going to be changing how we do business in the future.
So one thing that I hear a lot about, and especially with acronyms like SaaS, is the power of the analytics. I find when I see some of these Google Sheets, I get my eyes glaze over. Do you teach them what the...
Yeah, we have KPIs in most of the businesses that we work with, and those KPIs always tell us a story. Once we've worked with a company and we actually know what their KPIs are, we're able to help them figure out how we can make those KPIs better. It also is a really good indicator if there's something not right. When my KPIs go from, if I have a closing rate of 75% and now our closing rate is at 52, I can start to have conversations with my team to find out why we're having that. What's happening?
Can you tell us what a KPI is? I know, but not everyone may.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. A key performance indicator is what that stands for. For most of the businesses we work with, we look at your average transaction. The reason why it's important to understand your average transaction to figure out how many transactions you need to have in order to be able to get to your sales goal, to be able to pay your staff, pay your bills, and be a business that can be in business into the future. Our closing rate. Closing rate is if you go out on 100 sales and you close 75 of them. We have a 75% closing rate. By knowing these indicators, it allows you to grow, scale your business, and see when there may be issues that need to be addressed.
So you have the widgets, the chatbot, etc. And those tools are great for interactions. Do you leverage the AI also to look for gaps that you haven't seen? You have your KPIs. Am I getting my sales? Great. And tracking. Do you also have AI that helps look for potential gaps in the system, or is that a human intervention or a coaching component?
So one of the spots that we have seen the best benefits of using the AI is an automation first step. Google reviews. Every business out there is really reliant on Google reviews. That's where customers are typically going to research you and your company. They're reading them. We know that Google being one of the top search engine optimizations on the planet, we need to be there and have those reviews to be shown. It's one of the cheapest ways that businesses can stay relevant online. So one thing that we've done with several of our businesses, especially in the home service sector, is we have a checklist that gets done at the end of the job where the customer's happiest. That checklist gets completed and an automatic review goes to our clients' cell phones. The reason why we're seeing better results with sending it to a cell phone versus an email is very few people are opening their emails. We know 92% of people are opening up those texts. By having that going out, we're getting more reviews. We're collecting those reviews. We now have the capability where the AI can respond to those reviews. Google wants not only to have the reviews, it's important that we're responding. So if you're a smaller business or a large business that gets a ton of reviews and you're forgetting to get back in there and ask for the reviews, we can automate it. If you're a business not responding to those reviews, you can use AI to give you that hand up to be able to respond. We had one company that had a gentleman that had complained about the price of the product and left a 3-star review. Even though he loved the product, he wasn't happy with the price. As I was getting ready to respond, the AI responded and said he would see the benefit in our long-term relationship, our service and our warranties and things like that, and that we hope that you see the value in this. The AIs are getting so smart and they're very customized to the review that they're responding to.
You mentioned that it already responded for you, which is good. I hear this about AI on a regular basis. It's always learning. So when you set up a bot, when you set up the environment for your customer interaction, does all that learning come from previous adventures, or is it something that it's got to get to know you? Almost when you're dating, you got to get to know your partner for a bit, and then you can predict the behavior. Or if you work with somebody long enough, right? That's not necessarily in an intimate manner, but you get a sense of, I know Bob does not like ketchup on his hot dog. We won't get him ketchup on the hot dog, unless, of course, we're trying to take Bob off. Is that something then that you train up, and how long is there a training period involved?
Yeah, so there's some basic things that every business is looking to collect or interact with. But then there's that where we're able to pull your website, your content, and bring that to life inside of the bot. So there is a training. I always tell people, give it at least 30 days. And the more feedback we get, the better we can go in, we can train the bot, and the bot can truly become a part of your team. We talk about AI Annie, and she's your after hours girl, your weekend person. You can have somebody there to take care of those leads and customers. But yeah, really important that we take the time on the front end and make sure that it's a great representation of your team. I don't ever look at our bots as a replacement. I see them more as another team member that's able to help you to be able to give work-life balance to your employees.
How does AI help you scale?
It's helping to scale because you're able to see where those things that potentially were dropped are now able to be picked up. We had one employee or one client that we worked with that we were able to see based off of their missed calls. They were losing up to $100,000 a year. Just by capturing those missed calls, we're able to see that the sales automatically go up without spending more money in marketing. I really, truly, we see these businesses that are spending hundreds and thousands of dollars in marketing, but yet they're going to a deadline and nobody's getting back to them. How many businesses don't get back to people when they do leave messages? By bringing it into one system, one portal, it allows for people to be able to see where they are missing those opportunities.
You find that you can read the sentiment, whether it's an oral conversation or in a text message? Can it figure out the sentiment within context?
I think as it learns more about your business, yes, I think it's more of an in-depth training for that.
Does that then roll into the KPIs? You mentioned earlier, if one particular live person goes, sales are waning, is it not so much as a monitoring tool, but as an aid to going, listen, you're having a rough day. I remember there's one AI platform, and it would register this person. He was positive. He was promoting his own business, but he realized his happy scores, for lack of better words, was diminishing at a certain point in time. And he sat back and wondered why. And then he realized it was the end of the day. He spent 12 hours on Zoom. He was tired, hungry, slightly cranky. It registered that he was as buoyant as he normally would be. Does you envision that the system will also help and train us to be better at what we're doing?
I think there are tools out there. I'm not sure that the bot would do that because it works beside you as a peer, but I have seen that in some of the meeting AI tools that I've used. I get a summary at the end of the meeting and it'll tell me who spoke the X number of percentage of time, how I need to follow up with them. If I'm in sales, teams are using the AI in those meetings to get a summary, which then allows them to know how that person took the meeting. I think as humans, we're very me focused and we don't necessarily always pick up on those cues of what that person may be saying or not saying. By getting that summary at the end, it allows for you to be able to say, wait a minute, how did I perceive, how was I perceived by the client? And how do I need to follow up with that client?
You mentioned millennials and younger and how the way they deal with that is so totally different. I want to bring an avatar to you. Let's say a 60-year-old electrician who owns the business. He has a mindset that has been doing this for quite a while. Can you painlessly show him ways in, or should he just retire and go fishing?
So those are my favorite because they usually have the most resistance and they have that all the way through. But really, once they see the value of being able to have that time off, they're 62. They have grandchildren. They have things that they want to be doing. Work is not going to be everything. And we've learned that we want to have that work-life balance. It's interesting, in Ontario, they passed the law that employers are not able to ask their employees to work after hours. If you were a salesperson that used to take sales at 8 o'clock at night, if your schedule is Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, you no longer can ask your employees that service their customers at 8 o'clock at night. Now, there's going to be industries that are not within that. So what is happening to that person that has that sale ready to give you that money at 8 o'clock at night if all systems have been shut down? So by having technology there to support you and to handle those leads or clients after hours, I think that's where we're going to see a lot of companies needing to look at it. I think that's something that they're looking at. They passed in Ontario, and I think that you're going to see it going across Canada. We know that people need to have that time off. Back in the day, you went to work, you worked 9 to 5, you left, and the only way they were able to get a hold of you was if they called your home and you answered the phone with your corded phone. I've grown up in that. I have gone from the manager who, when I left the office, nobody could get a hold of me until the next morning. But now we have this society where you can text me and I have my cell phone, and the expectation is that I'm getting back to you right now. So it really doesn't allow for us to have that work-life balance and to be able to say, now is the time that I'm at home and I am putting my family and I am turning off my work because this is my priority and this is where I am. One thing that is really important to me is that we don't use technology just to be lazy. We use it so we have the capability of having that balance in our life. We call it work-life balance, but maybe it's just balance. It's just being able to have that downtime.
So we've talked about AI and the widgets and the bots and reading platforms. Is there an AI store? You walk up to, I'll take 2 of those and 3 of those in a bag for me. Drop it on the desk and it'll walk over to my computer and integrate automatically. Where do you acquire the AI? Which one do you pick? Are there different brands that are more ideal for certain industries, or they're roughly the same? One's based off the previous one, but this one does a better job of smoothing things out.
Yeah, it just depends on what you're looking for. I know a lot of people in marketing are using ChatGPT just to be able to start the conversation, like to get 5 key elements to be able to do this. It's a great starting point tool when we have a blog that we need to write. The AI is a great spot to start to be able to pull some of those ideas together. For us, we use ChatGPT, but then we also have Grammarly, because AI in that capacity is pulling all the data. The data has mistakes because people can't spell sometimes, and grammar is maybe a thing of the past. So then we take it to somewhere Grammarly, where Grammarly now has the ability to take that scripting and you can give that script a personality. So if you want your company to be friendly, courteous, whatever personality you are giving your company, that technology is now able to go and put the proper grammar into it, but also make sure that it has your company branded voice.
How do you do it badly? Have you ran into a train wreck where someone maybe didn't get the consulting they needed, or thought they could do it themselves, or didn't listen? What happened?
The biggest thing that people need to realize is that it's an employee you're onboarding onto your company in the bot capacity, and that you need to make sure that you're taking the time to set it up properly. And then I think the other common mistake I see with people using it for marketing ideas is just taking it and literally copying and pasting and posting, because now it feels like a bot. And people are very quickly to be able to see that. And we buy on emotion, we interact on emotion. So it's super important that we take the time and we put the human person into the equation. It is a tool for a hand up. It will never be, in my opinion, a replacement.
What areas inside a business are low risk? Put it in there, see what happens. You don't have to go sandbox. In other areas, you should probably do a sandbox. Are there any key areas where it takes instant on? You just plug it in. And other areas where you want the training cycle to come into play?
I think the missed call is probably the biggest one that you can start very quickly, and at least something is better than nobody answering or no return. I think when people try and hide behind the bot, there's friction, issue, problem. They need to vent, and the bot listens and repeats it in a decent capacity. But I really think that there's a spot where I just want to talk to a human. I am irritated now. We've all called TELUS. I need a human being. And that's where a lot of companies we work with, we set it up so that it's trained to be able to feel when that friction is coming or that person has had enough. You can have it where it only will go back and forth so many times. You can have it where when they say, I want to speak to a human, it gets transferred to a call center or to a person's cell phone or to a office if it's during hours. So it's really making sure that you're taking that time to set it up properly and not to replace those friction points.
I have a client who has gone so many rabbit holes. He spends more time learning about what's out there to buy in AI than running his business. He wants to be current. How do you stay current without going down rabbit holes, in your opinion?
Yeah, that's a big challenge in a lot of entrepreneurs. When we are meeting with people to see if they're a good fit for us, we like to tell them, you do what you do best, and we're going to take care of this. There's that onboarding and making people feel comfortable before they let us go in and help them with their business, but they need to stay focused on what they're doing. The biggest challenge that I see, especially right now, every other month, it feels like something is out there. And there are those business owners that really feel like they need to take control from A to Z. What we're looking to do is take away the things that are not items that they need to be handling, that they're not money generating, so that they can go out and work on their business and get out of their business.
One thing that I hear being held out there is consultants actually looking at the entire business flow from somebody being a prospect to somebody being a paid client. Do you look at all the boxes to take them from start to finish, or do you specialize on the front end, or where's that consulting that actually looks at their entire business?
So we build out 3 pipelines. The first pipeline is your nurturing. So those are where your leads go. Somebody has called, but maybe they haven't moved forward, or it's that missed call that didn't get booked to an appointment or a trade show submission, anything where they have raised their hand and said, hey, I want to know more about your business. And in that pipeline, what we're doing is we're educating. We're sending emails, texts, we're trying to book appointments. The whole goal of that is to get to that appointment or sale in that pipeline. The majority of what we're doing there is we're educating. And then in the second pipeline, that's from the time that they've said, okay, I want to do business with you. They booked an appointment and we work that workflow right from, because how many times do we book an appointment and people don't show up? By sending them a text reminder, an email reminder, we're able to now ensure that they're well aware that they have an appointment with you. Some of our businesses close right in the home. There's a good portion of business that doesn't get closed in the home. They're getting multiple quotes maybe. Now we're looking at how are we following up with that revenue? We've already done all the work. We've captured the lead. We got the appointment. The salesperson has gone there. They've done their consultation. All we need to do now is to move that into a sale by having follow-ups. And that's where we use a lot of our staffing to be able to follow up, find out why we didn't get that sale in the home. Was there a friction point? Were there more questions? What happened overnight? We use automation in that as well. From that point, we automate when the order goes in, when it gets installed, right to the review. And then that third pipeline is typically built out if you have warranty claims. That would be where we put that pipeline. Or maybe you have a product that needs to be serviced every 18 months. So now we have an automatic reminder system for you and your client on making sure that they're getting what they need at that time. Or maybe it's a product that it's going to last for 60 days. Now we are going to start to remarket to that client at 45 days so that when 60 days comes up, they have another tube sitting there waiting for you.
Your preferred AI platform you like working with?
We work with GoHighLevel, the platform our SaaS business is built on. They have said this is going to be a priority. We are going to prioritize AI. We are going to be the leaders in this. And I really think they are. I spent a lot of time. There's a grant that the Canadian government gave out to small business owners to automate and used AI in their businesses. I traveled the world virtually looking for the best system and landed on GoHighLevel. I started with many different ones. There's a lot of different ones, and they all piecemealed, which was fine. But I found as a business owner, I was logging into 5, 7, 10 different places where with GoHighLevel, we're able to bring everything in. So you're able to see all the communication in one spot, everything from the phone calls to the chat widgets to the form submissions lives within one place. The fact that it has an app is fantastic because it allows businesses that are out on the road to see, oh, this client called. If you're late to your next appointment, you can text or call that client through the app to let them know and keeping that communication there. We see a lot of businesses that say, geez, Jen, this is a lot of money per month. And then I say, okay, let's pull your TELUS phone bill or your Bell phone bill and see what your phones are costing you. Now you can see the cost and people don't have to use their personal cell phones anymore. When you have an employee who quits on you after 5, 10 years, your customer database is no longer in their personal cell phone. It's in an app. And you take that app off their phone or take them out of the system and it automatically logs them out. I remember 10, 15 years ago, we had a salesperson that was connected to our Google Calendar. When she left, there was no way for us to disconnect her.
Ouch.
Yes. So our competitor could see all of our appointments. Technology has grown. It's in its infancy. And I think that we're learning that we need these things in place.
Are entrepreneurs using masterminds work out the kinks so they feel more relaxed about the choices they're making?
I think entrepreneurial people, it's lonely, right? There's not a school for it. And let's face it, our family and friends, I don't want to talk about it around the Christmas table. I've tried hard. But by getting together with peers that are having the same issues, because everybody believes that as a business owner, we're drinking cocktails by 2 on Fridays. But that's not the case. We're working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week in a lot of ways. And by having people that are in the trenches with you and understand, I think that's super important.
If you're to encapsulate for our listeners, couple key points about AI and setting up the automation piece, knowing that AI can scale and with the end goal of you might want to sell the business or you might want to franchise it. What would be the key points you want to relate to them?
Yeah, I think scalability is the biggest one that people are looking at and why they want to use it. But having that data, many businesses won't even know how many leads they have. So if you don't know what your leads are, it makes it hard to know how many more you may need to grow that 10 to 15%. I think it gives you a great foundation to be able to know your business in an ability to be able to learn how to make it better. That tool allows us to be able to see things clearly, but also to have transparency. So when you do go to sell, you are not selling yourself. You now have a scalable or transferable business because you have those systems in place and you have the software that supports those systems. So someone can come in and run that business the way you ran it or tweak it. I'm a big believer in brand. One of the best things that automation does is it allows for you to have a strong brand and create that brand and train others, whether that is an employee or an AI bot, on that brand. That way your customer knows that's the experience I'm going to have every time. We think about Tim Hortons. That is a strong brand. That was one of the first franchises I worked with, and they control that brand from start to finish. Ottawa, or you can get it in Vancouver, a double will always taste the same because they supply the cup that you drink that double, that cream, that sugar. Everything is controlled because they have that brand lockdown.
Except in Vancouver, they have palm trees on the cups.
And it may taste better because it's warmer.
I do have a serious question that you brought up that's interesting. SOPs. If they don't know, automation has to rely on systems. Do you actually train them to put SOPs in their business? And explain what an SOP is.
Yes, very much. We definitely want them to have those key performance indicators built within their systems and to know that's what they want to do. One of the biggest things that we find with a lot of entrepreneurs, when I ask them how much they need to make, they'll always be like, they have this goal of, I'm going to pay all my bills and I hope at the end of the month that I can pay my bills at home. I really train my people to pay themselves their wage. If you can make the same money or more from somebody else, go work for somebody else. It'll be easier for you. I make sure that in every business, we get at least a 10% return on investment. We're taking that 10% right off the top. We're we're getting paid our wage so that we have a business that doesn't run us, that we're able to run the business. And by having those points of contact and making sure we're able to now make sure that we're doing that base of that 10% plus your wage and then scaling and growing to the next level.
So that leaves the last question. How do we get in touch with your chatbot, and how big is the geography you serve?
Excellent. If you would like to test out our bots, we have our website. When you go to our website, AI Annie is one of the first buttons you will see there. And you can go on and you can actually hear recordings. You can see chats. You can test out and call and ask questions. It's very interactive because we want people to see how these bots can help in your business. We focus on working with clients in North America. That I'm Canadian. I have worked within franchises in the last 18 years that are US-based franchises. So I have a strong understanding of the US market and the differences between the US market and Canada. We are very different in our sales and customer experiences.
I want to say thank you to Jennifer, my co-host Wayne, and you, the Knack for Business listeners. If you want to understand more about AI, the use of bots, and integrating it into a complete package such as GoHighLevel, Jennifer is a good person to reach out to. She's got a solid background in many different areas.
To reach the podcast hosts, email them at info@creativeinsight.com or by the website creativeinsight.com, spelled KREATIVINSIGHT.com. To reach Wayne at his email, Wayne@motivateuca, that is MOTIVE, the numeral 8 and the letter U.ca, or his website motivateuca. If you would like to be a guest on this podcast and share your knowledge, let us know. We would also appreciate your feedback on the content or format. Check the show notes for more details. For these podcasts, we like to acknowledge the support and thanks to the following people. Carl Richards from Podcast Solutions Made Simple, a renowned podcast expert. Fred Crouch, who is the Property Wizard podcaster, where Bernie is a co-host. Javan Strika from Hive, a co-working space that is more than just a space. Then Melanie Weber, Bernie's invaluable business partner, and Wayne Pratt from Motivate You Inc., who serves as both a coach and co-host of these podcasts. Disclaimer, please note that the Knack for Business podcast episodes are meant solely for educational and general informational purposes. The information and opinions contained within are not intended to be professional advice on any subject matter. The thoughts, views, and opinions expressed by the participants are their own personal beliefs and do not represent the views of the podcast hosts or any affiliated organizations. It is important to note that this podcast is not a replacement for consulting with certified experts in your area who possess knowledge of your unique situation. The hosts of the podcast, along with any participants or affiliated groups, do not take responsibility for any actions taken or not taken based on the information presented in this episode. It is highly recommended that individuals seek guidance from their own personal advisors in fields such as accounting, law, or other pertinent areas prior to undertaking any actions or making decisions that may impact their financial, legal, or other aspects of life.